pro-co arrangement between the US and the Philippines? May kaliwaan bang nangyaring ganito? The vaccine na bayad na natin would only be delivered if the VFA remained untouched. It's a quote from your interview.
No, what I meant there was when what we had paid for was the Moderna, but the United States at that time was prepared to donate several vaccines or a number of vaccines to the Philippines and to other countries as well. But obviously, the priorities were the allies. We were an ally, but let's be very honest about it. The fact that there's no such thing as a free lunch, and the VFA was being dangled as by then President Duterte, that he was not sure he wanted to continue with it. He, in fact, abrogated it at that time. So I pleaded with the president and told him that perhaps it would be best if we could just allow the BFA to continue, so that it will be much easier for us to be able to get the United States to give us the vaccines that we paid for, at the same time also get more vaccines down the road.
Yes, do you know a certain Haydarian? I think he was the one who interviewed you, and he said that you said, except Washington was holding back all their vaccines because President Biden back then wanted all Americans to get it first. But we had already paid for our Moderna vaccines. And to put it frankly, I basically begged the White House to give us the vaccines, to give people hope.
Well, like I said, there was already the executive order from the White House that President Biden said that all Americans will first get the vaccines before we start getting the vaccines out.
Moderna, but why was there a need for the good ambassador to beg the White House for the delivery of Moderna vaccines when we'd already paid for them?
Well, even if we had paid for them, the schedule was actually still much later on. What I did was to ask the White House if they could give us the vaccines earlier than that.
Did they come earlier? In fact, as I recall, they were quite seriously delayed.
It was the delay, but there was other vaccines that are actually given priority for the Philippines, and specifically that was Pfizer.
So why was Pfizer, which we did not pay for, in the Philippines before Moderna, which we had paid for? I'm lost.
Yeah, Pfizer had more
supply.
More supply, and they had it with the COVAX facility, which I'm sure our DOH is familiar with. That we were given, the donation came from the.
And what did the
COVAX.
VFA? What did the mention of the VFA have to do with it?
Well, like I said, in diplomacy, as far as I'm concerned, I felt that if we had the VFA in place, which was in place at that time, we just had to continue with it. So it'll be much easier for us to be able to really ask our friends here in the United States. It will be perhaps more conducive for them to be able to give us the vaccines.
Is it correct then, Ambassador Romualdez, to say that aside from paying the purchase price, the Philippines also had to beg and promise to allow U.S. troops in the country before U.S. vaccines were released? This is the impression that your interview gives.
Well, what was meant there was the vaccines that were being donated is what we were after. The vaccines that we had paid for, Moderna had already made it clear that the vaccines will be coming at a certain time frame. And it was, well, as you said, it was delayed.
So what connection did the VFA and the Moderna vaccines have, in your mind?
Well, there was no connection in that one. The connection was more on the donation, on having more of the vaccines available for us. And specifically, that was Pfizer.
So you're saying that the VFA was related to the donation of Pfizer and had nothing to do with the already paid supply of Moderna?
No, it did not have anything to do with that one. It was more on the donations that were made available to countries all over the world.
But we paid for the Moderna. It's not a donation. Why did we have to agree to the VFA if we had already paid for the medicine?
we did not agree to the VFA because of Moderna. We allowed the president had approved the VFA to continue because I told him that perhaps it would be much easier for us to get more of the Pfizer vaccines that were part of the COVAX facility.
I see. Did anything or anyone in Washington imply that the VFA had something to do with the provision of U.S.-made vaccines to the Philippines? Where did you get the notion that they were perhaps tied together and that they would be friendlier and more ready to provide Western vaccines if the VFA remained in place?
Well, I could see that the priorities were given to countries that had obviously good relations with the United States. I mean, it's a very simple deduction, really, when you see that there are other countries that were given priority. And I wanted to be part of that priority at that time.
Yes. But you already said that Pfizer, being so widely available and being supplied much more efficiently, was all over the world. Are you saying that all over the world, every country with Pfizer was also required to host U.S. soldiers?
No. This was the earlier part when we were asking for the Pfizer, because at that time there was limited numbers, as you specifically said. President Biden said the priority will be first for Americans to receive the vaccines before they start exporting it. However, they also had donations that were being given. The United States government was donating vaccines to the USAID and other facilities, and also to the COVAX facility. And I wanted to be part of that priority.
And the priorities involved countries that hosted U.S. forces?
Not necessarily. I was just simply using that as a way of telling them that, look, we're going to continue with this. I hope that you'll give us, since we have and since 1951, we've had a mutual defense treaty. We've had the visiting forces agreement, which I'm sure President Duterte will perhaps continue with it. So these are the things that I used as a reason why we should be given priority like other countries close to the United States.
So it was just a usual inducement. Is that what you're saying?
Well, perhaps.
Okay, thank you very much, Ambassador Romualdez, and of course to those in the United States online, most of all Dr. Lucy, as well as Professor Ong. Ambassador Romualdez, thank you very much. We're very grateful for your participation and your help in getting to the bottom of this report, and you are excused. Thank you very much. At this point, may I ask Mr. Attorney Talamayan of CICC regarding the Chinese cyber psyops here in the Philippines. Parang pinaglalaroan tayo ng lahat ng bansa. Up to this point, we are merely talking about American psyops. It is equally noteworthy, however, that the other player in the great power competition, China, has also been orchestrating or alleged to have been orchestrating illegal cyber operations in disinformation campaign, and that cyber attacks and hacking have been reported since January by DICT, clearly tracing the IP addresses to China. So DICT, Cybercrime Unit, would you like to comment on these reported hacking and attack incidents? I believe it's Attorney Talamayan po.
Good morning, Mr.
I see also that Attorney Lotok of NBI. Are you with Cybercrime? Are you with the Cybercrime Division? Maybe you'd like to add something after Attorney Talamayan. Oh, great. So, Attorney Talamayan, please.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Regarding the part of the CICC in monitoring the smear campaign by the Chinese government, Your Honor, we have been doing some analysis, and until now, Your Honor, because some of the IP address that has been mentioned in previous report of the CICC is, well,